This is Extra Points, a Pop Warner podcast. I'm your host, Tim Glaze. We're sharing some of the most compelling stories in sports. On this episode, we chat with a Pop Warner alum and one of the greatest players in Bills history. Here's Hall of Famer Andre Reed. Thank you for joining us, Andre. Just as I open up with every podcast, what have you been up to lately?
I've been up to everything, man. I just had had two golf tournaments in 2 weeks. My annual golf tournament in Pennsylvania I have for my foundation. And then yesterday we had ours here in San Diego, the 14th year. The one in Pennsylvania was like 7 years. So a lot of things going on in the summertime. My wife is always busy. She's a sports marketing agent. She represents probably at least 20 guys in the NFL. Does a lot of things with them. Their social media, everything they want to do. You know, football camps, you name it, she does it. So we're at two opposite ends of the spectrum, but it's almost the same thing, if you want to say it. So, but it's good, man. It's awesome.
You had mentioned your Andre Reed Foundation. What are you exactly accomplishing with that? I mean, what's the vision of that foundation?
Well, the vision is I was a Boys and Girls Club kid for 11 years, 12 years, and they were so important to me in my development as a kid to where I'm at today. And I was approached actually the year after I got into the hall in 2014, and the Frank Sanchez, who is the head of all the not only the alumni but the big name people with the Boys and Girls Club. And people don't realize there's a lot of people, a lot of guys, a lot of athletes that went through the Boys and Girls Club system. And it's so important to us that, we pay it forward, we give back. And the Boys and Girls Club really, put the bricks down for me to stand on early in my life as a kid. So they said, hey, would you like to be in our Alumni Hall of Fame? And I said, for sure. And got inducted in 2015, like I said, a year after the hall. And I said in a lot of speeches that I do a lot of Boys and Girls Club events. I go to a lot of charities to help them raise money for their clubs. And I tell my story. And I said, I wouldn't be a Hall of Famer if it wasn't for the Boys and Girls Club. And even though I got inducted to there a year later, they're almost one and the same because one happened because of the other and vice versa. So they were really important to me. And Denzel Washington is the national ambassador for Boys and Girls Clubs of America, and I'm an ambassador. So, and then they have a gala every year. They put this year Donnie Wahlberg went in, Cedric the Entertainer. A lot of guys go in, and it's a big thing for them because they know how important they were to them in their life.
So at Pop Warner, we have several Boys and Girls Clubs that run their football programs through
Yeah,
Pop Warner. You
exactly.
mentioned that you came up in Pop Warner. Was that part of Boys and Girls Club or
Oh
more?
yeah, I mean, I think it was synonymous with Boys and Girls Club because you learned the game of football at the Boys and Girls Club. You learned all the things in sports you needed to know. You learned respect. You learned honesty. You learned perseverance, resiliency, all the things that you need in life to be successful. And these are the things that the Boys and Girls Club teach year in and year out, and they've been doing it for like 160 years. So it's a very important organization, and I owe a debt of gratitude to them for making me who I am.
So on Pop Warner, I mean, what was your experience like in Pop Warner as a kid?
Oh, you couldn't wait till I tell you. I used to put my uniform when I was like, I think I started playing. I was like 7, 8 years old, maybe younger, 6, 7, 8. Uh, and you couldn't wait to put your uniform on and play Saturday morning Pop Warner football. And they had different, weights. So I started at the 80-pound weight, and then I went to the 95-pound. And then if you were 110, that was like the big boys. So, I just remember all the people that, not only were there, but said something to me. Pop Warner was such an integral part of my life as an athlete that you learn more about life than the game of football. And obviously you learned a lot about football, but they intertwine with each other. And to this day, we had the coaches were your dad, were your dad's friends. Those were the coaches. It wasn't like they were already in Pop Warner or in sports and coached before. They were just regular old dads, and they kind of like told you like it is. You were like their kids. All the coaches were like your kids. We were their dads. So you learned a lot from each one of them. And to this day, I'll never forget some of the things that I learned, not only from my own dad, but other kids' dads too.
Yeah, it's what's interesting. Let's listen to your induction speech last night, and you gave credit to Gene Legath, and
Yes.
it's well, the connection is I'm an Emmaus grad, so he was
Oh
a
yeah,
math
then
teacher. I know,
ain't
and
no place
driver's
to
ed
rather be.
teacher, but like
Yeah.
it is interesting how I know how impactful coaches at the high school level and also at the youth level have been, but and I'm sure you've had a lot of coaches that have impacted you all through your career. Um,
Yeah.
but what I found really interesting about this is, having come from the Allentown area and watching you grow up, like you were like the hometown hero. And if you could make it from our area, anybody could make it from our.
Anybody could, right.
But that's the thing that we struggle with a lot because we want our players and our kids to really have a proper perspective, and as importantly, we want our parents to have a proper perspective. Not every kid is going to go pro, but
No,
some
well,
do.
I think we emphasize that you emphasize that right away. You say, hey, one or two of you guys will have a shot in here. Maybe five, maybe 10 guys will have a shot, but maybe only four you make it.
But
So
how would you, what kind of advice do you have with kind of balancing that perspective of just maybe like having the perspective that you won't make it, but still holding out hope and doing the things and all the work
yeah, yeah.
to
I
pursue that
think
dream?
because it teaches you about the game of life. It's just not the game that you play. Not It's just not football. It teaches you more about life and about the ups and downs of life. Some things go your way, some things don't, and you got to be able to get through that. That's life, and that's what Pop Warner taught me. That's what sports has taught me. You're not going to win all the time. There's only one winner in this world, and he's up there, and he wins all the time. So you're going to go through some times where it's not going to be, it's not going to be comfortable. But that just builds your strength and your perseverance. That builds that because that's going to be life as you grow up. Is a setback and is an accomplishment. Another setback, an accomplishment. Um, Look at Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan, greatest basketball player ever, right? Michael Jordan, I tell you, I missed like probably 3,000 shots because we think he makes every one of them, and he doesn't. Steph Curry doesn't make every one. So I think our kids got to look at our heroes and realize that they're human too, and they make mistakes. And our coaches got to, especially at the Pop Warner level, got to teach our kids that you're going to make mistakes, and your life is going to go through those trials and tribulations. You got to be able to come back from it, and that's going to make you a better person. And then you go teach somebody else that as you get older.
One of the things you mentioned earlier about your parents, your father, and also all the dads that were around you in football, and what role have your parents played in your upbringing, particularly around their sports and football?
Well, I didn't grow up in the best of things, and as a kid, you really don't know that, but you do because I was around kids that were just like me. And there wasn't a kid that was more elite as far as his maybe more elite athlete to a certain point, but we all grew up together in the same area. So everybody was the same pretty much. And that was the beauty of that um everybody had something in their house that was going on that was not good. And sports has a way of kind of letting you forget that for a moment, and you just being a kid and going out and having fun. And that's what I did. I got away from it, and obviously, those things really helped me grow as a person. But um, I was around kids that were just like me, especially in the Boys and Girls Club. It wasn't somebody wasn't way better off than the next kid. It was a group of kids that we all had the same problems, and we all just wanted to have fun and be a kid. And that's what the Boys and Girls Club has done for me. Um, you just be a kid and you just move forward.
You came up through Allentown, Pennsylvania, which
Hmm.
most people only know as just slightly north of Philadelphia, and
Yep.
then you attended Kutztown University, which I know enough. Most people pronounce it Kutztown or
Yeah,
don't
they
know
didn't
where
know
it
how to say.
is.
They still don't know how to say it.
Yeah, it's such a small school, and not many pros come out of Kutztown. There's been a couple, you being one of them, obviously. So,
Hmm.
how did your journey end up at Kutztown?
Well, I was a real young kid out of high school. Graduated from high school younger than some of my uh, classmates. They were a year older than me. So I think my mom held me back a year, just to develop some more. And obviously that was the right decision to a certain point. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but for me it did. So basically I was playing football a year younger than a lot of the kids. So I had to grow up quick, if you want to say that. So, um, and it's been a blessing. It was a blessing at the time, because I wasn't developed up here in my mind. I wasn't developed in my body. Uh, I'm sure a lot of kids that I played Pop Warner football with, or say, yeah, I played with him, and I was better than him, but obviously I wasn't a better than him.
So yeah, that speaks a lot to development. Kids develop at a different rate and different pace.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
developed it a little later, and then you got your opportunity with the NFL. So the what was that like getting drafted into the NFL and also into the Buffalo Bills?
Well, it was a I think every kid you talk to, especially Pop Warner, all the way up to college, they want to play in the NFL, especially college kids and kids that are playing at football. Every Pop Warner kid and across the nation wants to be an NFL player. It's the bottom line. And I love to tell stories about when I was Pop Warner kid to them, because I want them to see in my eyes that it could be done if you are around the right people. And again, you don't make that big mistake as you grow up. You're a good person. You do everything you're supposed to do. You go to school, do your homework, you do all that stuff, and it's only going to just bode well for you later in life. And that's where I really try to emphasize.
Now, you mentioned being around the right people. Let's talk specifically about coaches. How do you see the coaches? I know Marv Levy really speaks very highly of you in terms of seeing some of the values that
Yeah.
the skills you brought into the NFL game, but I'm sure you've had coaches that helped you get to that level along the
Oh
way.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Like what's been your relationship like with coaches and in your own development?
Sometimes they're like your dad. They're like your dad away from home, and I think your coach sees you a lot differently than your own parents would, because they always said if a coach is yelling at you and he's always in your face and always around you telling you things, that means he likes you. And I think as a Pop Warner kid, you don't realize that, because you think he's yelling at you because he's just to be yelling at you for a reason. Uh, but as you grow older, and if a coach is around you and he's always telling you do this or whatever, and he's always around you, and you're trying to figure out, why is he around me? He wants you to do good, and he likes you for a reason that you don't know. So that was the beauty of it for me, that I had to realize that these coaches are yelling at me for a reason, because they see something good and they want me to be better.
Did you have I know you get this question a lot about the when you were in Buffalo about the four Super Bowls, but one of the things that
Mhm.
I've looked back on this, and at least at that time, that you've managed to, or your team maintained a pretty much of a core roster throughout those 4 years at that time period.
Yeah.
And I think it really speaks to that sense of team, that commitment to Buffalo. What's we talked a little bit about coaches, but what's been your perspective on just developing a team and being a teammate to others, and just the commitment you have to that team?
There, you just said the big word, commitment. Um, our kids nowadays are so influenced by different things. We're talking on his phone. The phone influences the kids. Uh, other things around them are they're influenced by. Um, and it's really up to their mentors, and it's up to coaches, and it's up to teachers to really keep these kids focused on what's important in life. Because we don't want, whether some slip through the cracks, that's going to happen. But we have to get these kids young, and we got to get them, on the right trail to success younger in life than later in life. Um, and I've experienced that at every level, Pop Warner, high school, college, and the pros. Um, there's a lesson to be learned, and all the lessons I learned in 31 years of playing football, um, I give that back now to all the kids now. So, because they want to be like me. I wanted to be like Lynn Swan. Lynn Swan, who's my fellow Hall of Famer. I wore 88 in college because I wanted to be like Lynn Swan. And I tell him that every year I see him at the hall, and he laughs about it. But somebody tells me they want to be me. They want to be me. So it's kind of like a revolving door that you go through. You got to say the right things because you got to turn right back around, and you got to catch somebody else coming on the other side. That's the most important thing, and that's the beauty of it because people listen to what you say, believe it or not, and there's little nuggets in what you say that they put in their pocket, and when they need those nuggets, they pull them out, and that's usually what I do.
So you mentioned social media earlier in terms of just kids and how they
Yeah,
interact with the game. We do see some issues with social media. It's creeping into the game a little bit in terms of how players are able to interact with opponents, be on and off, or particularly off the field. And then I know last year there was a big issue in youth football. They call it BTA, where during the handshake line, the winning team will swat the losing team with their towel. It's really those are some of the things that at Pop Warner we try and manage. We try and make sure the conduct is always positive on and off the field and throughout the game. But
exactly.
how can we ensure that these teams continue to respect the game and respect the opponents?
Well, it's. I think the parents got to play a bigger role in it. Um, Obviously, the coaches and the parents need to be more um, kind of on the same page. I mean, you see some different things in Pop Warner. Parents are fighting and this and that, and then they're fighting. You know what I mean? They just that's not what we need in a game. Let the big guys do that if they're going to do that. But uh, I think one thing Pop Warner has been over the years is they're very intuitive. They're very well put together on not only rules but the integrity of the game at a young age. Um, we're trying to, they're trying to teach the game, and they're trying to teach what the game means. Uh, that's really, what to me Pop Warner is not only just playing the game, but you're trying to teach them what the game means about life, the game of life, and that's Pop Warner teaches that at that level.
Yeah, we also see a lot of our kids, and we see them show up with NFL gear on, and obviously you said
Yeah,
people look up to you. And one of the things I do remember about your Bills team is those teammates you had, particularly that core trio on the offense: Jim
yeah.
Kelly, yourself, Thurman Thomas, and what was it like being on that team, and how do you see that team gelling as a team and establishing that commitment to?
We relied on each other, and we all want the glory, and we all want to stand on the podium on first, on first place all the time. But we knew we needed each other to win. And Bruce on the other side. Bruce needed Daryl Talley. He needed Cornelius Bennett. He needed all those guys on the other side. Hold on one second. Sorry. Uh, and that was important to us. That was important to us winning. The core guys of bringing the other guys along. I think in the game today, it's not that we don't see that kind of thing, but guys are on their own agendas now. And I think outside the game has influenced a lot of players coming in the league, with the NIL and, the college kids and all the things that are going on. We're trying to get back to teach them at the Pop Warner level what the game is all about and having fun. And once you get up to those levels, it kind of takes fun away from the game. It takes fun away from it, and it becomes more of a business, which it is. But some of these guys playing now got to think about their Pop Warner days. Nobody was paying nobody. Nobody was. You just went out on Saturday morning, and you just, you know. I remember putting my uniform on Saturday morning. I didn't take it off till like 8 o'clock at night. That was
Yeah,
the
no,
best. That was the best thing.
it's great. Do you what number were you when you were in Pop Warner?
Oh, my first my first number at 8 years old or seven. I was number 21. And then, back then you had the big number on the front and the little number in the back. You just went out and played. You didn't know. Um, and then I for some reason as I got older, I adopted number 11. So I was 11 in high school. And then when I got to Kutztown, I was 88. And then when I got to Buffalo, I was 83. So those are my four numbers.
If you had a chance to go back to young Andre Reed,
Mhm.
what would you tell him?
Um, that's a great question. I've never gotten that question. I mean, I would say things happen for reasons. And if you put the effort in and you do the things you're supposed to do, you think about the reasons why you're there, and it's all good reasons. You don't think about the reasons why you wouldn't be there if you didn't, because you're there for a reason. Um, I always think about the 15-year-old me now, looking back on all the things I do now, and the 15-year-old me on enshrinement day 11 years ago, looking at me in the stands, and what would the 15-year-old think? That would be crazy because the 15-year-old would be like, I never thought this would happen, number one. And number two, I never thought this would happen. I never thought this would happen. Um, and I would tell him, you put in the work, and you were a good kid, and you did everything you're supposed to do. You went to school, you did your homework, you did all these little things, and this is kind of like, the fruits of your labor right now. You were blessed by God to have this talent, and you kept on a straight, narrow path instead of going right or left. You kept straight. Um, that's what the 15-year I would tell my 15-year-old me.
Hey all, so just when you thought your fall season could be over, you could get the team together for an exciting new flag football tournament. For the first time, Pop Warner is partnering with NFL Flag to host a national flag football event. The Crown Classic will take place in Charlotte, North Carolina this December 12th and 13th, with divisions across many age groups, both co-ed and girls. Registration opens September 2nd. For more information, check out popwarner.com. Now back to the episode. One of the things that's interesting, I remember, I think in your induction speech, Marv Levy introduced you and mentioned something about you have a lot of, I was translated, and you have a lot of grit. You grind, you play hard. And
Grinder. Yeah.
yes, and you played, I think, 16 years. You missed
Yep.
11 games. So
Yep.
did you have that attitude as a kid as well? Like you
I,
just,
I did. I did. I learned that from my dad. And my dad passed away in 1996. But his lessons in life is probably the reason why um, I'm kind of the person I am, but the toughness that I had, because my dad was a tough man, and he was a construction worker, so he'd be up at 6 in the morning to get on the job by 8 in the heat and to provide for his own family. So I saw that, and I saw the grit, and I saw the grinding, and I adopted that. So what I did for a living, catching passes, I was the grinder. I was the guy in the middle that if you didn't hit me and get me on the ground, I was going for a touchdown. And I think that really sums up the way my dad really taught me about being a grinder and showing up and doing all the things you're supposed to do to be successful. That's what he taught me. And that's what I try to teach these kids now, that you're not going to have all this great talent without having somebody behind you and somebody pushing you. And I had that. So I was very, very fortunate.
I would think, one of the things that you've had a great career, but I think the biggest testament, I followed you a little closely just because I'm from your area and
Mhm.
you were in the news a lot, but and I watched these induction ceremonies and you get into the Hall of Fame, which is a wonderful accomplishment for your career. In 2014, you see the crest, you get your jacket, but probably one of the more impressive things, or among the, as impressive as that was, is like you turned to the podium and you saw this sea of blue. I mean, Buffalo fans showed up
Yeah, they did.
for your induction. And I think it's a testament to just like what you've done on and off the field to impact that community.
Yeah.
So just take us through in enshrinement day. What was that? You had your teammates there. You had a lot of teammates there. They were
Yeah.
already in the Hall of Fame. Your family was there. What was that day like for you?
It was nerve wracking, but it was a different kind of nerve wracking thing. Because here I was you know, get up there in front of thousands of people at the stadium, and then another couple 100,000 and whatever on TV. And this was the moment that I never thought I'd be in, and it was a speech of my life. I had to knock this one out. And back then, now they only give you what, 10 minutes to talk. I got 32 minutes in. So, and then Michael Strahan was right next to me. I think he went almost 40 minutes. So there's a lot of people that you have to thank that you're not gonna be able to get to. I got to most of the people thanking, my high school coaches and so and so and so and so, my Pop Warner coaches, all that stuff. But just to see not only the Buffalo fans showing up, and they showed up for me my whole career, um, and they still do it. I just all the other, not only my fellow enshrinees that day, but all the other guys behind them, all the guys behind me. I never thought that I would be standing there and telling my story as a football player in front of all these guys who are legends of the game. And I'm standing up there and I'm trying to figure out why I'm up here. Um, it kind of chokes me up a little bit because it's something I'll never forget. I can recite my own speech, and to see my mom there, my dad wasn't there, he had passed already, and my brothers, my sister. Um, it was not only a big moment for me, it was a tremendous moment for them. And um, I have a chance every year when I come back to talk to the guys coming in about not only my enshrinement, but what it's going to feel like after you get that gold jacket and you do your speech and all that kind of thing. You're in a different world, man.
What has it been like since you had the gold jacket?
Um, I'm still Andre, always will be, but you're Andre Reed, Hall of Famer.
And you share the Hall of Fame with
That's
a
it.
lot of your teammates.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
what was interesting about your induction speech, that one last pass from Jim Kelly, I
Yep.
know it's hard to think about wide receivers without thinking about the quarterback. So, what is your relationship like with Jim Kelly, both in a career and in a
It's
career?
yeah, it's awesome. Obviously, he was very important. I wouldn't be in the Hall of Fame without him. And if you remember, and I know you do, he shouldn't even have been there. He was going through cancer, and he had just came off of chemotherapy. And I remember calling his wife, Jill, and I said, Jill, I understand if Jim can't come. I know he's battling, and he's been through chemo, and he's probably not. She said, don't worry, he's going to be there. And he was. And he did not look good. He looked like he shouldn't have been there. But he told me when I called him, he said, don't worry, I wouldn't miss this one for the world. Uh, Meant a lot, man. It meant a lot to me that my quarterback was going to be there, and he shouldn't have really been there.
Well, that's teammates for you. And that goes back to the commitment I mentioned earlier. So, are you still close with a lot of your teammates?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I see Jim and Thurman a lot at games. I try to go back to 2 or 3 games. Bruce here and there, Daryl and Cornelius and Steve Tasker. We try to get together as much as possible. As the years go on, it gets less and less because we're trying to get our kids right and all that kind of stuff. But usually I see him up in Buffalo when I go to a game, or definitely at Enshrinement Week every year. So I'll be seeing him in a month, a month from now. Um, and to switch gears, Marv is going to be 100 years old coming August 3rd. So um, I hope he doesn't see this podcast, but I'm not going to say anything. But yes, he's going to be 100 August 3rd during Enshrinement Week.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
The Buffalo is Buffalo's Buffalo. I have a lot of friends that are Bills fans, and they like to remind me that they're Bills Mafia, not Bills
Oh
fans.
yeah.
So
Bills
what is
Mafia. Bills Mafia is everywhere.
so what is Bills Mafia? You describe to me what Bills Mafia is.
It's just every team has their own fan base. The Raiders and the Browns have the dog pound, and the Raiders got the black hole and all this. But Bills Mafia is because it's Buffalo is a blue collar town. It's like where Allentown, where I'm from, blue collar, 9 to 5, every day in the heat. And Del Reed started the Bills Mafia there. I don't know how many years ago, but I think there always was a Bills Mafia there. We just needed a guy to kind of formulate it, and they are worldwide, and actually the Bills franchise uh, bought the rights to that name. So it's a movement. So I go to away games, and Bills Mafia knows how to travel. I was in here in LA at the game last year when they played the Rams. Bills Mafia was there. Anywhere I go on, if it was a away game, Bills Mafia is there. So, what a great thing for the city, for the league in itself. Um, that that fan base has made that kind of like the meat and potatoes of what Bills fans are about.
Yeah, and I understand you're part of a project now that really, I would say, aims to celebrate Bill's Mafia.
Exactly. Yep.
Just one before I die. Do you want to give us a little bit of insight on what that is?
Two guys that are from Buffalo, and they have been up here in LA and Hollywood and doing different things here, left and right. Came to me about doing a docu-series about Bills Mafia and the Buffalo Bills and just the franchise. And I said, for sure. And they actually asked Chad Michael Murray, who's from Buffalo, um, from One Tree Hill, back in the day. And he does a lot of Hallmark movies. So we're executive producers of this docu-series that's probably going to come out in the next couple months. They were in Buffalo all last year, documenting a lot of things, different fans, different things in Buffalo. So, and it really kind of corresponds of how the team's doing well. Josh Allen, MVP. Um, so it really is coming around at the same time as all this stuff is happening with the team. So I'm glad to be a part of this. I think it's going to be phenomenal. They actually we're here at my house filming me and doing some things here. They filmed Bruce, they filmed Thurman, they filmed Steve Tasker, they filmed Daryl Talley. They filmed a lot of guys and current guys. So um, I'm guarantee you one of these live stream things like Hulu or a Prime Video, they're gonna buy the rights to this, and it's gonna be a really good thing. So um, look out for that in the next couple months.
Okay, well, dude, and it's interesting timing too, because that coincides with the start of the season.
Yeah,
So is this the year for the Buffalo Bills to get to that Super Bowl, get that
I
win?
I mean, we've said that for a long time. I'm not going to say no, it ain't the year. I mean, as long as they got number 17 back there, it's definitely doable. And I know people watched the draft this year, and they got some defensive guys. I mean, if you look at the Super Bowl, that's how Philadelphia dismantled the Chiefs this year. Defense. The four guys up front really took the game over early, and they had no answer for that. So um, definitely hoping that this is the year. We got to get there first to have a chance to win it. And believe me, the Bills win a Super Bowl anytime soon, be it this year or next year or whatever. They'd have to shut the whole East Coast down.
You're going to be at that parade, I'm sure.
I'll be at the parade, no doubt. And uh, I don't even know how to explain what would be the feeling would be. Because not only does the franchise deserve it, any team in sports, Buffalo Bills deserve to be a Super Bowl champ, and that city deserves it too.
So you also mentioned earlier with your work with the Andre Reed Foundation. Are you still
Mhm.
heavily involved in the Buffalo community up there?
Yeah, I'm involved with the Boys and Girls Club. Anytime I come to Buffalo for a game, we take Boys and Girls Club kids to a game and get them down on the field and just give them the experience of a lifetime. I try to get back to two or three Boys and Girls Clubs when I'm back there, speak to the kids and do some great things there in the community.
The kids that you serve now, they see you as Andre Reed with the Boys and Girls Clubs. How much of a connection do they have with you as the former NFL star in your
Well,
playing?
I mean, it's I tell them about it, but obviously those kids weren't even thought about when I was playing. Um, But I'm sure they go in there, whatever they got to do to find out. They can find out what's going on in this world really quick. And I try to emphasize, that, you guys weren't around when I played, but all you guys in this room here, there's going to be there's going to be a couple of you guys are going to have the shot to do what I did. And, try to keep them interested in that kind of way. So, yeah.
The now one of the games that you are probably most known for, most talked about around, and I definitely remember where I was that day. You were in the end zone a few times that afternoon.
Mhm.
Was definitely the comeback when Buffalo was down 35-0 at the half. You ultimately won 41-38 against the Oilers.
Mhm.
We see a lot with Pop Warner where you get down, you get behind. Like, how do you have to come out of that hole? So this game is perfect learning experience or something for our
Mhm.
kids to look at. But getting down to that comeback, what was the turning point? Like, was it the team on the sideline? Was it the coaches? How did you guys turn things around that day?
I think it was a combination of a lot of things. It wasn't just one thing or one play or what one coach said or what one call or anything like that. And it's great that you mentioned that, because it teaches not only just the game of football that things can happen, but it's about sports in general, that those kind of things happen. And if you're not ready, things are gonna happen like what happened to Houston. And it's not that you're ready, but if you're a little bit more complacent and you think that you got the game won, um, there's somebody on the other side that doesn't want that to happen. And that's what happened with us. And then once we had that rolling, it was pretty much over for them. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it was a fantastic game to watch. I knew you had 3 touchdowns that second half and were a big part of that comeback. So I know that's a huge part of your story. You probably get that question a lot, but
Yeah.
it's a good question to get, I'm sure. The I want to close with one last question, and I want you to
Mhm.
imagine that you're on the sideline or just speaking to a Pop Warner team of any age.
Yeah.
What are you telling them before the season starts?
Um, I'm telling them, you guys are a team, TEAM. And I tell them there's no I in team. You spell it TEAM, no I. So you got to rely on each other. You got to believe in each other. And you got to believe in your own ability that it only takes one play for you to encourage somebody else to make a play. And then it trickles down to everybody. Uh, you win as a team, you lose it as a team. And I think at that level, it isn't really the talent, but you got to teach those things. Because a lot of kids, when they lose, they're it's like they lost the whole world. You know what I mean? At Pop Warner, the Pop Warner level. Uh, and that there's going to be another game. You guys are going to play next week, and you can erase what happened this week. So, pretty straight to the point when it comes to that. But and then just be a kid. Just have fun. Go out there, have fun, be a kid, do something you love to do. And have fun with your teammates. Have fun with your buddies. Um, to be part of organized sports is probably to me was the most important thing in my life, and it's right at the top with all awards and all that. Those awards wouldn't happen without that team camaraderie and that team element of it.
Perfect. Well, thank you for joining us today. I really enjoyed the conversation and enjoy everything you do with the Boys and Girls Club and your foundation as well. I appreciate it.
Thank you, I appreciate it, man.
For Pop Warner, I'm your host, Tim Glaze. Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode. This podcast is a production of Pop Warner Little Scholars, the premier national governing body for youth football and cheer and dance. Visit us at popwarner.com.